And you can hear me? Very good. Okay. Okay. Say hello. Okay, very good. See to it that you have a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Just recognize what is here. Not by labeling or trying to define your experience in any way. Just notice. This subtle, pure alertness that is there. Just stay with that. Instead of you trying to engage in the world, see what it presents. Even if it at first feels like your thoughts, your emotions, your experience. Notice how everything is just coming. Movements of sensations in the body, the emotional content changes. Thoughts come, stay for a while and go. And notice the qualities of this alertness. The spaciousness that comes from just observing. that there is this freedom of not engaging and identifying with every thought, with everything that arises. It's so easy to be taken by the mind. We believe that the thinking says things about us that are prominent and important. And suddenly you're drawn into things. And the habit of the mind is to continue to create more mind, to create more thoughts in an ongoing cycle. And through these beliefs of the mind and the fears that often trigger those beliefs, there's just a continuous stream of thinking. When you actively engage in observing, you're not actually in a doing. You're just noticing that there is this more subtle observing sense, and that the gross mind for a while takes a back seat. And at first this shift can feel like a small thing. But this way of coming back to what is changes everything. Changes the whole outlook of what am I in this world. It's easy to buy into the mind's crude ideas of identity and the person and just go with that. Have ideas of the improvement of the idea of the person, and the game just goes on. But our essential nature is much more than just the idea of a person. Our essential nature is beingness itself. And it's not from a philosophical standpoint. It's not an idea of a timeless state that is something to aspire to. We talk about experienced reality. When you look, you can notice this. Because the idea that you have of yourself is another phenomena that comes and goes. And in that is revealed something profound. That there is no center to the experience. There is no you as an onlooker. You are the experience. You're the content of it, what we call consciousness. And you are the awareness of that consciousness. If you follow this guidance, and you trust it, the spaciousness of beingness will be revealed to you. When you first see it, it seems like a miracle. It's such a relief compared to the confined identity of the ego. But the more you recognize beingness, the more it becomes normal. The beauty of it becomes normal. The happiness for no reason that comes with it becomes normal. And the confinement of the identified mind feels more cramped than ever, because you have started to taste freedom. And once you tasted freedom, you're screwed. You won't want to go back. You won't like the confinement anymore. can open your eyes, move your body if you need to, stretch out your arms and legs. I got a phone call from my cousin today. We often talk about meditation, and when he wants advice, he calls sometimes. And today he had met a friend who had started practicing mantra meditation, but had some problems. His friend, she was diagnosed with ADHD, and she said it's so difficult to just sit. They say on this course that I did in transcendental meditation that I should sit and do my mantra, but I never do it. And I think many people have this feeling. They want to sit, but they feel too restless. There's too much going on. It's too much to just sit. And I said, it's easy. You just tell your friend that if she does any yoga or tai chi or qigong or dancing or anything, do that first. Express first. Then sit. And then the most important part, then rest. Because your meditation should be so much alertness, so decisively concentrated in that. If you do inquiry, you really do inquiry. Don't miss a single thought that says anything about you. Or if you do your mantra, you do your mantra. And then you take 5 to 10 minutes rest after. This rest is great because many people, when they approach meditation, they try so much. So when they're allowed to rest, they might really meditate. And my cousin said, does this practice apply to me as well? And I said, yes, it does. There are so few people who just feel that it's really, really nice to just sit. I just want to be very realistic with this, because I know people who have practiced many years and they say, it still sucks to sit. There's so much resistance every time. But the great thing with it, when you come to the point where you feel like sitting, it always shows all this restlessness. It always shows all the things that perhaps you find it extremely boring, and it just overwhelms you with ideas of things you can do or create. But it shows you everything. It's beautiful in that sense, but there is often so much resistance to it. And just be realistic with that. And if you need something for it, if you need to come into a good space. Do your things. If you're drawn to doing a little ceremony, do a little ceremony. And the beauty of this just sitting is that at some point you will notice the qualities of that goes into everything. Goes into your walking, goes into your doing the dishes. There's so many things that you won't mind anymore because they're just simple, practical things where you can just stay as you are. We have so many ideas. Everyone has an idea what gives them energy, what takes away energy, what it does. And most of us misjudges how much our belief affects our experience. We often believe in things that limit us. That is the most common thing. And one of the most common obstacles in meditation. That we believe that we're not patient enough. We don't have the right kind of demeanor, the right kind of mentality or personality. But everyone will feel like that when you confront yourself with just sitting. It's normal to doubt yourself. To think like, as these meditation groups I go to, I feel like everyone else, they have it together except for me. That is normal. And I'm also happy to announce that if I look at my practice, I would say that I'm a really shitty meditator. All my flaws completely exposed in my overbelief in that I can do everything myself completely took me off track. My disdain for authorities, listening to anyone else, completely took me. That everything should be logical, very rational, completely took me. And you think that your stubbornness is really good and that you have a lot of power in that you can just force through things and you're a great doer, that it will help you to do a lot of meditation. This is such a terrible thing in meditation. It's brutal. And especially if you think that you have a lot of powers with your mind. What you can do with it, how you can pull through. It's so much more subtle. We think that mind is subtle, but beingness is much more subtle. And as soon as we go too much into identity and the mind, we just obscure it. We just take the things that are gross and big and look at them. and say things like, this is my life, this is where I'm heading, these are my situations and my issues. And we don't listen to the more subtle things. It's such a powerful thing to say, I don't know. I think it's looked down upon in our culture. It's one of the worst things. You never want to say that you don't know. It's better to make something up or do anything but that. But when it comes to this, it is a great thing. Because we're exploring the unknowable. And maybe you don't understand my words right now. But maybe it stirs something in you that is just, what does that mean? Why would those words be uttered? Why would he say it's unknowable? Does it mean that it's far away? That it's unreachable? No, it's just unknowable. Because the experience is only now. And the softness, when it comes to this unfolding, makes the moment come alive. As soon as you know, you kill the moment. You take a little bit away from it. You make it less. Jiddu Krishnamurti called it the tyranny of expectations. And he uses a very strong word, and that is completely right. Because everyone thinks that expectations is just normal. But it takes away from the moment. It creates an idea with the mind of what this situation should be. Some of you probably bring it here. You look at me and the idea what I should give you. And if I don't talk about perhaps your subject or touch the things that you are looking for, you're a bit disappointed. But you might also miss what is said. These are subtle things in our experience, and things that are blind to most. And if you catch them, it changes this moment. It just makes it more precious, more beautiful. And in that sense, it's not a complicated matter. It's only the mind, with all its fears, projections, ideas, expectations, that is very, very complicated. Extremely complex. So many layers, so much identity in different ways, so many ways of trying to perceive information. So many ways of trying to get these words into the being somehow. So many ways to distort. But if there is awareness of that, then there is a possibility of the openness of it. Then there is the possibility to listen. And I know that you have felt sometimes that that you stop listening with your head and it just goes here. You bypass this for a while. And you just listen here. And it no longer wants to expect anything or looking for a specific thing. It just sees. It just is. No longer in the arena of excitement or disappointment or hope or hopelessness. It just is. It is subtle, but it's always there. It's always possible. And as soon as you recognize this, you will see it in others. They might say something, but you won't believe them. You will see how they become taken by their mind, how they try, how they want, all these things. Easy to see what they fear, what they hold up, all these things. And also what most of us long for is so simple. It's just to be seen as we are. To feel loved, to feel held. To not feel separate. And it can be nice to feel that in a common space with others. But there is something deeper that holds you. Beingness does it. The universe does it. Life itself does it. Whatever you want to call it. And when we look for guidance, we look for this quality. And if a physical form of that quality needs to appear, it will appear. You will always get exactly the teachers that you need. It's the beauty of it. And it's nice to be guided. But it cannot be your life. It's a beautiful thing that someone takes your hand and holds it for a bit, points a direction, guides you a little bit. But at some point you have to go on your own. Because otherwise you will always feel like you're second to it, or not enough. That's why I say, you are the same. And never trust any teacher who don't want you to be the same as them. Teachers who collect great students, no. The same. Because it's just about beingness. I'm not a real authority to you. I'm just a guide pointing. The guru is you, you, you. And I know that part of it is scary. If the ego gets hold of it, it becomes overconfident. Or says, I'm not good enough. But it's beautiful when it gets challenged. It can feel scary and it can feel almost overwhelming. But in that, wisdom can come. And suddenly there can come a voice that does not want anything but knowing itself. It has a different quality than your usual voice in your head. It talks an intuitive language, sometimes not even with words, just directions or urgency. It can be all kinds of things. It just comes. It can come with quick visions of things to come or people who are coming into your life before you have seen them. And I just want to say, if these things start to happen to you, don't give them to the ego. Because the ego will say, oh, I am special. I have seen this now. I read this in the yogic texts about these things. But they just come with silence. They just come with beingness. And when we're taken by our mind, we underestimate silence. Silence is where every original thought comes from, where all creativity comes from. You might try to create through doing, but the best thing is to create through silence, allowing ideas to come if there is space. And creativity, when it comes to silence, is not bound to the arts. It just comes through everything. How you talk, how you move, how you interact, how you communicate, how you relate to others. if there is space, can be playfulness, there can be creativity. I know that it seems like when we talk about meditation, it sounds like a very serious subject. But it is the most playful subject. I was helping my brother in he has a new summer place, and we were building a porch for him and his family. And we were singing, as we always do, and building together. And his oldest daughter, who is 15, she came out and helped us a little bit. And we were playing around a lot. It was very playful mode when we did this building. And I gave her instructions on what we were doing. And she said to her father, "Oh, Markus talks to me like I'm a child." And my brother said, "He talks like that to everyone." But she was 15 and very disturbed by the way I talked. And my brother just filled in. He talks like that. Because it's so easy to do things serious. And most adults do things very seriously. They take their job very seriously. And you can have a very serious job which requires very serious, but there is always space to play. There is always space to joke around a little bit. There's always space for fun. And especially if you have a very serious job, that is super important. But if you take your thoughts too serious, if you go into the ideas of the mind, and they say, this is a heavy, serious job, and you take it serious like that, it will become a burden. And you might feel with your adult mind that, but I'm not getting paid to be funny or playful. But that is your right as a human to have fun and be playful. But it needs silence. This creativity, this playfulness needs silence. It needs space. When the mind feels too confined, it won't play. It will stop playing. It will start going to fight or flight. It would go into all these very, very primitive ways of seeing. But when there is space, you can play. Even in the most serious situations, you find the best ways to play. Maybe when it's really, really needed. And this is another trap of meditation. Reading too many serious books on Vedanta and being a very serious Vedanta person. Taking your life very seriously. I like the stories when Ashtavakra laughs, jokes around, when they say that he's a cripple and he had no chance with King Janaka to be chosen as, and he just laughs and laughs and laughs. When nothing is personal and everything becomes beautiful. And even when someone bullies you, you can laugh. This is what the space in meditation is for. To be present, to laugh, to be really intimate. To have real connections. To be able to really listen. So many people feel like they're never listened to. And when they get that full attention, everything can open in them. There's so much beauty in that openness. And the person will say things like, I never thought I would say these words. I didn't know that this was in me. Or things like, I have never said this to anyone else. Because the intimacy of beingness just invokes that. You sense that someone is really listening and not wanting anything from you. We underestimate this quality so much. When someone is not wanting anything, they don't want to exploit you in any way, they just want to listen to you because of the love of beingness. This just creates so much space. And even if you don't know that you enjoy it on a surface level or recognize it like that, most people are just drawn into it. Because it's so subtle and so beautiful. And if you feel stagnant in the way that you relate to the people close to you or around you, that you always come into the same tracks, it's always the same melody between you, then look, see how to create space, see how to really listen. It's so easy to have ideas of where the other person is. That is sometimes very beautiful when they hear someone close to you speak to someone else, and you hear that they talk in a way that you're not used to. Because it's so easy to get into the same grooves. The same way that many of us go into the same grooves with themselves. Many people have like a big percentage of the same thoughts every day. Have the same doubts about themselves, have the same self-hate or whatever it is going on repeat. These thoughts are not personal. If you observe them, they just come from our common noise. They're like thoughts that just move around in humans. You hold on to them, you think that they are personal and that pertain to you. You see some mirroring in that you find emotionally and in some ways with your pain is connected to the idea of you, and you just repeat them. And in the awareness of that, it stops. As soon as you see them, they start to diminish. They start to become impersonal because they start to come into awareness instead of identification. Identification can only live in the shadows, in your non-seeing of it. And that's what makes awareness so beautiful. And also, if you feel too stuck in the same grooves, do things that are unexpected, do things that are difficult, because they're usually also made by just going for the same easy things every time. Most people long for difficult things, but they can feel like they don't dare to go there. Or they just don't feel like they have the confidence. They have other ideas that hold them back. And I know the idea of meditation sometimes could feel like you should just, people come into an idea of just waiting for everything. Waiting for the world to happen, unfold in a different way somehow, and I can just be here for it. But when that goes into the relative, it makes people passive. And sometimes just what you need is an action. But it's held back by the idea of that the world should unfold. I see it a lot in people who practice meditation. And it's just a confusion between the relative and the absolute. Because everything is unfolding, but also your actions. And at some point you might not even say that they are your actions. They're just happening. But when there is no fear, then actions can also flow very freely. And when you see people who have done very brave things, I saw an interview with a man who ran into a burning building saving people. And the reporter says something like, "What were you thinking going into this burning building?" And you can see this man that he didn't think at all. So he really has to muster something up to have something to tell this reporter, because it was just his instinct. It was just the thing to do in the situation, of course. And that is also a natural part of us. That is also what beingness says. It plays a different tune than the repetitive mind. The quality of the thoughts that come with beingness is often much more fresh, much more playful. They feel new. And they feel that they only happen now. Usually you cannot come back to them, because that's not the quality they hold. Is there any questions today? Okay, very good. Yes. Can you take the microphone? Yes. Yes, so everyone on stream also can hear you.
So I know this might be a bit basic, but I've noticed a thing that to some extent annoys me, and that is when I sit in long meditations and it becomes silent, there is a voice in my mind that says, "No, it's silent," and it is like a, how should I describe it? Like a narrator that points out that it's silent now.
Yes.
So I'm aware that I identify myself with the silence, but how can I deal with this better?
Yes. The ego wants to be part of it.
Yeah.
You can keep the microphone if you want.
Okay.
The ego wants to be part of the experience, so it will try. And when it says, "Oh, now we're in silence," it wants to keep the sense of identity there, and that you are the achiever of silence. That is what it's convincing you of. The thought that comes and says that there is silence happens in this moment. But there is nothing that says that it is your voice, that is your thought, and that it says something profound about this moment. It's actually just another thing happening. And from this silence, also the idea of that can be observed. And I don't know if you have practiced any self-inquiry. No. Then you can ask, who owns this voice? Where does it come from? Who is the one telling that there is silence in this moment? And if you look for the source of that, it will only reveal silence. So this is a great opportunity to do that kind of inquiry. And whatever the mind says, you can inquire into that. And especially if there is some space and some silence, then you rest in the silence and you notice that the mind says, "Oh, this is going great." To whom is it going great? And you inquire into that, you look for the source of that, and that will always bring you back into silence. Because there is no one. There is just this phenomenon of thought happening and going again. So that is a very crucial point to come to, is that the mind becomes silent, because that means that whatever practice you're doing to that point is giving you space. Many people are trying so much, they have so many strategies on how to keep the mind silent, that noise is just too much. There is no real silence, because there is just all the noise of trying. So something in you is allowing the moment to be, and that's why it becomes silent. This is a beautiful practice, and in that you can invite everything. In that space, whatever comes up will be easily observed, like you're observing the thought of, "It's silent now." There would be another thought that, yes, what do you want to do later or whatever, but But since there is space between them, because if there is a constant stream of thoughts, it becomes very difficult. Then you cannot discern anything what the mind, because it just bombards you with a lot of things, like you probably also notice it maybe at first. Yes, but when you are aware of the mind, you notice that it settles down. And this spaciousness is, the more you get comfortable there, because it can also feel like you are almost fading away in it, because the mind wants to time and time again hold on to something. It wants to create thoughts like, it's silent now, this is going great, or whatever it says. And that is just because when the mind wants its grip, the ego wants its grip to be held. And you can also experience that it becomes very, very spacious when it cannot do that. If you inquire into everything that it does, and you just go back to this silence, and there is nothing, and there is nothing, and whatever you experience in that, you come back again and you report. You tell me, and we talk about it then. Okay. Do you understand this self-inquiry part? Is there something that is unclear with that?
I can Google it.
Sorry?
I can Google it.
You can Google it. Atmananda.
But I know you've spoken about it, so yeah.
Yes. There is actually some, I have on my, if you go to my site, there is some things about Atmavishara self-inquiry there. There is a little, I made like a PDF that you can read. It's just pointers, and yes. So if you want to come back to it again and again, you can. Very good. Thank you.
Maybe I can ask you. Maybe not so much a question, but just nice to always say in this group that I've just been feeling a lot of fear lately. I think I said last week that I sort of feel like some of my behaviors I feel like I can really sort of see through them now. Like I can't just automatically go into them. Something makes me kind of fall out of them again. I feel a little bit like it's like I'm sort of trying to shine a light on all of that stuff, on my behaviors, and I feel a bit sort of squirmy under the sort of glaring gaze of awareness. It's a bit like, oh God.
Yeah,
and
the light feels hot.
Yeah, it's hot, and it's like scary, and then my sort of hand holds, holding on there, are sort of loosening a bit, and I feel like I'm going to fall backwards into the abyss a little bit. Like it's a kind of scary, sort of exciting time as well, because it sometimes it feels like, oh God, it's really nice. I don't have to put on any of those funny masks I used to wear or something, but it's mostly scary at the moment.
And that edge, everyone comes to that edge at some point. That it feels like the grip of the ego is less, and usually it feels like it's very spacious, but there's also a lot of fear. It's very fearful because suddenly you're starting to expose the ego, and the ego controls you through fear. So it will go, usually in most people's life, if you would say that, yes, the ego is fear, but I don't feel fearful, they will say. I feel fine. I just have to navigate my mind a little bit. I have to have some strategies to feel okay, and But that is, and we don't think usually of feelings like loneliness, like the fear of being alone. And if you put it like that, when people start to get it a little bit, and they're like, okay, yeah, it's more subtle. It's just that I choose to do things because of these fears. And the more you the practice, the more these fear patterns get exposed. and they will be much more direct. The ego starts to work with things like, it can say you're going to go crazy if you continue this, no one will understand you, you will be lonely, and it can even say if you continue you will die. There is only death, this path. Because from the ego standpoint, it does not have the grip to continue in that environment. You're creating an environment that is not ego-friendly. It's not eco-friendly, it's not ego-friendly. So because the ego needs the fuel of your belief to continue. It needs your repetition. It needs your mundane, sluggish mind that is unaware of thoughts. It needs that to continue. When the mind is alert and you shine the light, then it gets exposed. And if the mind starts to get silent, which it will with practice, for some people it will take some time, for some people it will happen quickly. But the mind starts to get silent, and then the spots to see are very easy to see. It's very easy to shine the light. It's not always nice, but it will be easy to shine the light. And you will feel like the ego has that feeling of there is nowhere to go. Especially if you work with self-inquiry, the ego can stop making claims that feel personal even. It starts to avoid I, me, mine. It starts to avoid all these kind of, it says things in a much more vague, it tries to get away with a much more vague language because you are so onto the identified language. And it can also stop with words altogether and just have like subtle longings for things or wanting things very that are much more subtle, that doesn't really have to involve words. And it can also become much more on an emotional level. Because emotions are a bit more subtle than word thoughts or thoughts. So all these, the mind will resist, the ego will resist meditation at some point. In the beginning it will say, if it just makes your mind a bit nicer and you're more at peace and your life is better, the ego is like, this is great, let's go this route, we're getting better, it feels like. We're more silent, it will say. Yes. But at some point it will, the silence will start to eat the ego and its space. So it will resist it. And that is where usually people feel like spirituality starts to get challenging. Their meditation starts to get challenging. Because then it can be much more direct fear and all these things. But what is great in that awareness is that the awareness of the ego starts to be very, it starts to be big. The awareness of it is big. It takes a lot of power from the. It takes the space where the ego can operate in. It makes it much smaller. And it can become really, really desperate in this. Try to put all kind of, push your buttons. It will test your buttons. But since there is awareness of all this and that there's just thought, you start also to, when you're no longer afraid of the thought content, even if the thought content says you will die if you continue. You don't, the belief in it is not strong anymore, or you're not so identified with it. So it will be much easier to cope with all those things. You will understand, this is just ego trying to trigger me somehow and push my buttons.
Yeah, that feels right. It feels like a little bit like when I have more awareness of ego, that it's a voice, it gets more extreme. Like just last night felt very extreme for some reason. Yeah, like thoughts of death. But so it's like it sort of becomes more extreme, which I think would have really terrified me. It was a scary feeling, but I sort of was able to give it space as well. It felt like I at least have that thing. But I think maybe one thing for me is that I think sometimes I can be quite, or I can sort of maybe see ego and understand that this isn't me. But I think sometimes with feelings, I find can be difficult to understand. This is just something, Shakti, something happening in awareness. But I find it much more difficult, I think, there to just allow that.
Yes, and the identified feeling that can feel very sticky is just, I am doing this, I am trying, but there is no thought content that says I am. It's just I am in feeling. And that is more subtle. That's what I mean by those. It feels like the engagement in things feels on an emotional level personal. But the mind can be completely silent. And but all these tendencies that we talk about now is the ego is in trouble in this, because there's so much light shined on things. So even if that feels difficult and it feels very challenging and it can be very fearful in the way that things come up, it's also completely exposed. The ego is so exposed in this. And this can go on for a while. It can fight for a while, but if there is no nourishment, if there is nothing to grow in, if you don't make any strong claims or take a hard stand in it, the ego likes all those things. The ego would love you to say, now it's too much. I have to take a step back, or I have to do this or that. It loves those things because then you're in its game. But if you're in, thank you, let's see what happens, space, it has nowhere to go. And I know I've mentioned this many times before, but it's worth saying that if you're wholehearted in your way of approaching it, the ego has nowhere to go in that. When you say thank you for the experience, when you are in complete allowance of what is, it is very difficult for the ego to grow in that. It needs polarity, it needs duality, it needs doubt, it needs all these things. It needs you to be more black and white. It wants that to play with, to resist. Yes. Yes.
When you say, or when you talked about if the ego says now it's too much, but what about? Yeah, and I understand that might not be true, but how do I navigate, like, well, it might not be too much, but also taking care of my needs and listening to them.
But when you hear this, I'm just guessing that you're thinking about being overwhelmed by sensations, which is something that you are a lot challenged by. Yes, but then it's also just the acceptance of that is happening. Like for anyone, if you feel tired, it's not that, it's just a thought. I'm gonna some way. It's just not to identify with the ideas of being tired, and that is ridiculous. Of course, the body is tired, or the mind has been working hard, or you're overwhelmed by sensations like happening in your case a lot. Then you have to rest. It's just the acceptance of that there is no. It's just and as you're tired, you have to sleep, and the acceptance of all those kind of emotions also makes you take care of yourself, because the idea that you're not enough in it because you get overwhelmed by input. Yes, and that just makes you push further or go out of your comfort zone completely, when what you just need is no input and just rest, put in your earplugs and lay on your bed for a while.
Those kind of instructions are like what you said is quite common, and I'm not saying that they're bad, but it can be misunderstood, or I have been misunderstanding these kind of teachings when someone says, "Oh, this is just because I'm not always that great on contextualizing, like from what kind of situation they mean."
Yes. But it's very good that you ask that question, because I think that more people can find those things subtle and difficult to understand. And it's easy that you take something out of one context and put it into another because you just think that the words apply.
So maybe you can speak a bit more about the situations that when the ego would say now it's too much, and it's relevant to an
yes, okay, I can explain that. In the case that we're talking about here, just to clarify, it is that the spiritual experience is just things opening, but the ego interprets that as too much. That is what that whole thing pertains to. What I answered Richard on.
So spaciousness is taking over, basically.
Yes. So it's just that there is a lot of space, and there comes fear because the ego is exposed, and that becomes a grounds for the ego to say that is too much. But you have an experience that is a physical phenomena that is just that you have difficulty sorting input. Yes. When you've been to IKEA and you've been on a busy bus and you're just overwhelmed by too much input for how you sort sensory information. Yes. Then you just have to rest. There is no. So those are very different scenarios, but I understand on a surface level that they can sound like the same.
Yeah. But also, maybe it's good to not like that doesn't mean like you should live like a hermit too much necessarily. Like
no,
it's good to
go out in the world, but you have to also know your limitations if you get tired from a lot of input. Yes, very good. Anyone else? No. Okay. Richard, you want to sit here? Yeah. And move the flowers. Oh.
Sing.
Yes. Shri Radha?
Shri Radha, yeah.
Jai Jai Shri Radhe, 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe. 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 One more.
Sure.
Hey Govinda.
I am.
Hey Gopala. Hey Govinda. Hey Gopala. Hey Govinda. Hey Gopala. Hey Vasudeva. Hey Nityananda. Hey Vasudeva. Hey Nityananda. Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe. Radhe 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 Shama. Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe. Radhe 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 Shama. Hey Hey Govinda. Hey Hey Gopala. Hey Hey Govinda. Hey Hey Gopala. Hey Vasudeva. Hey Nityananda. Hey Vasudeva. Hey Nityananda. Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe. Radhe 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 Shama. Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe. Radhe 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 Shama. Hey Hey Govinda. Gopala, He Vasudeva, He Nityananda, He Vasudeva, He Nityananda, Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Shama, Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Shama, He He Govinda, He He Gopala, He He Govinda, He He Gopala, He Vasudeva, He Nityananda, He Vasudeva, He Nityananda, Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Shama, Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Shama, He He Govinda, He He Gopala, He He Govinda, He He Gopala. May this moment be your home, not the remembrance of it, but the experience. And let the light of awareness shine on everything. moments when you tremble, may you remember the beingness behind everything. May there be peace, peace, peace. Om Shanti, Shanti.